For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of day 10 of USC's fall camp. It was competition Tuesday, as Helton likes to call it, which means there's full pads, a lot of physicality. Dan, what did you see today?
Oh, we saw him go back to the run. I think on offense, we saw him get a chance to defend the run, even without without Porter and Cam Smith, and got a lot of guys that got to play both ways that they're turning into an asset. I mean, I think all of the coaches are agreeing that having the kind of depth they've got, instead of feeling a real negative about Cam is out or Porter is out for a while. You look at it and say, man, we're getting to play all these guys we haven't played. We're getting to see them. We're getting to feel good about a Hunter Eccles, a insider. Ruben Peters and Raymond Scott are getting a lot of work, and they ran the ball that way a lot. So I think they're a long way from last year, where not having Porter and Cam would really be difficult. That's not the case now. They're looking at it as they're going to be back, and they may not even miss a game, but we're going to have a bunch of kids that get a whole lot of really valuable reps, and you can only do that if you have kids that you believe can step in, and I think they're really pleased. Like today, talked to Hunter Eccles, and a lot of people talk about Hunter, and he's a good example of somebody. It didn't get a lot done last year, but they're just thrilled to death about his attitude and the way he's come around, and the fact that they can give him a lot of reps. So I think that's kind of what today was. A lot of guys getting a chance to do stuff that they're really pretty pleased about.
Mm-hmm. Helton said that after this Saturday's scrimmage, he's going to sit down and take a comprehensive look at the quarterbacks. He didn't say that it will be necessarily a decision. He hinted that he might pare it down a little bit, but he didn't want to commit to anything, but he did say he will give a comprehensive look at the last two preseason games, which Helton likes to call, but they're the scrimmages on Saturday. What was your takeaway from that little tidbit he gave us?
There's movement there. There is not the answer that we had the other day, which was, I'm still going to go to that fourth week. He's not saying that now. We're not talking about going to the fourth week. We're talking about, it sounded like there could be a decision after Saturday's scrimmage over the weekend and going into
a full decision?
It sounded like that's a possibility. He didn't say it was a possibility. I'm just kind of interpreting it as, this could be the way they go. I think one of the things that makes you think that might be the case is Clay and quarterbacks coach Brian Ellis sat down with all three quarterbacks after last week and said, okay, this is where you stand. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing well. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to work on. That gives me the sense that they may be closer than it sounded like when we talked to them after the scrimmage Saturday, when they said might be into that, UNLV actual game week. You get the sense now that may not be the case. They may decide that whoever the guy is, as fair as you want to be to all three of the guys, you also want to be fair to the guy who wins the job, because you want him. I was, kidding around with Josh Fowler, but I said, and he was talking about how good, for example, JT was and blah, blah, blah. And I said, have you even caught any passes from JT yet? Here's a guy you're really depending on, Josh Fowler, to be a big-time receiver for your tight ends, but he just hasn't been matched up in situations where he gets to catch the ball from JT. That probably has to stop. If you're going to have whoever's going to be in there, he probably got to get a chance to throw the ball and really develop some chemistry with everybody. And so it wouldn't surprise me now that maybe we get a decision after the second scrimmage.
Do you think a decision, or do you think maybe down to two? Because they are going into a mock game week next week. But how do you do a mock game week if you don't know who your starter is?
They said they could do that, and that wouldn't be a problem. But I think two. Either way, you got a decision. If you get a decision to go to two, you get a decision who the one guy is. Either way, and you may want to say, you need that guy who's going to be that second guy to really be part of the deal, and so maybe you decide, we will take it another week, and then do it that last week. I would guess now they won't wait till sometime during that last week. It'll be for the whole last week. I mean, it'll be before they get into game week. But it certainly sounded from what from what Clay said today, they're closer to making a call than we thought they were a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm. As far as the injury front, Paliie Naoteote got his meniscus surgery done yesterday and was back out here on Tuesday throwing the football around with his fellow meniscus buddy, Porter Gustin. So he looked pretty fine. Helton said, I think it went well. Marquise Stepp is in concussion protocol. Surprising, Andrew Voorhees was out today. Helton said that Voorhees actually got minor knee surgery in the offseason, and his knee tends to swell up for offensive linemen when you get that much work. So he's going to have the rest of the week off. Helton hopes that Voorhees will come back on next week. But Elijah Vera Tucker, the redshirt freshman, I believe, got a lot of time at right guard. So that was an interesting development there.
Yeah, more, again, kind of the same thing we're talking about on defense. But, again, you're not, getting that sense of, oh, man, what are we going to do? Because they had two potential starters. Austin Jackson was on the second day with that ouchie ankle. And you just go on. I mean, no big deal. That's just there's more chances, for Jalen McKenzie and, Clayton Bradley and all, let's just go for it. They're in a different place from last year. That would not have been the case last year. So, you go from the glass is half empty to the glass is half full, and you interpret everything, in a positive manner. And that's been a good part of this camp, is that sense of, not only are we going to talk about running the ball, not only are we going to talk about rotating, we're actually going to do it. And some of the circumstances have made it so that's exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. We're nearing the halfway point of fall camp. Is this where you expected the team to be? Are they ahead at schedule or behind schedule?
I think they're a little ahead. I think they're still kind of a young team. I think they think they're ahead. I think some of the things we saw in the scrimmage, from JT from Alman-Ra, they're ahead. Some of the stuff they were doing today, working on, goal line passing drills with, running, slants and fades, and throwing a lot of them and really getting a lot of, resistance from some really good defensive backs. I think they're past where they were. The fact that they ran a second offensive, set today with crowd noise. I mean, crowd noise, we're talking the second and third games. I think they're a little bit ahead of where you wouldn't be doing that, I don't think, if you didn't feel pretty comfortable about where you are in terms of the installation, in terms of guys knowing the playbook and all that. I think they're a little ahead.
Mm-hmm. Going forward, tomorrow and Thursday will be shells, and then Friday will be no pads. Saturday will be that scrimmage. It sounds like it will be important based on from what we've heard. Helton will take away from it. Also tomorrow, worth noting, will be a beam signing ceremony and a topping out ceremony. So they're going to finish the Coliseum. The first part of the Coliseum construction is done, and then there's going to be a ceremony. Both Rams and USC players will be there. It'll be this fanfare. We're going to be there. So anything from that you want to tell them about?
Well, I mean, you don't have to maybe agree with, the design and the architecture and some of the decisions. They do look like they've done a good job in terms of the construction, in terms of what they wanted to do and where they've, how they've gotten there and how they've gotten the field back together and the new seats that are in and all that. They've done a good job. I mean, again, we're probably not ever going to agree with, all the decisions that were made in terms of, taking out 10,300 seats and putting in a tower for 2,200 of the best seats in the building. But what they have done, I mean, they've worked really hard, the double shifts and working straight through. I think they've done a really good job of it. So they can be, you can only do what the decisions are for you to do. But place looks, it'll be interesting to see when the fans get in there.
Yeah.
And it has a different feel to it because the tower is such a big structure from goal line to goal line all the way down to the 45th row. And it's 100 and some feet closer to the field than the old press box was. So I like the feeling of being enclosed, and having those, there aren't going to be as many seats as you'd like there, but you do have a feeling of, that the seats are closer to the stadium, and the new seats look great. I mean, they're wider and they're on rails, and they're going to be able to, put in, additional rows, and they've got railings and all that kind of thing. So, there are some positives. It's going to be tough. You kind of wish they wouldn't have had to do two major, construction projects side by side at the same time. Yeah. So you end up losing every parking space, every parking lot on the, the west side, I guess that is, of the Coliseum. And you realize when we go over there now for a couple of practices, there really is nowhere to park. Yeah. I mean, you got to figure it out. We're doing the same thing. But once you get inside, there are some things to like.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for USC's Tuesday fall camp practice. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.